Welcome to the Real Estate 401k Show. Here are your hosts, Ryan Gertis, Mike Weinstein, and Justin Frederick, helping you build a legacy of wealth through real estate. Powered by the Recon Group at West USA and the Frederick team with Fairway Mortgage. NMLS number 625918.
You know, they always tell you the toughest job on the face of the planet is being a parent. And having two teenage sons, I would second and third that. It is a tough job. And I think, you know, Ryan, you and I, we have these conversations often. I think one of the most difficult parts for me as far as being a dad is you do the best you can, but you really don't know. You will not know how good of a job you've done as a parent until they're 25, 30, 35 years old. So you just kind of throw it up there and hope for the best. And I think about just, you know, some of the lessons I want to leave behind. One of the things I try to tell my kids every day before they leave school, your goal today, don't be that guy. If you just can come home at the end of the night and say, I wasn't that guy, okay, you're halfway to success. But one of the things that, you know, that I want to impart with them is the concept and the understanding of how money works, and more importantly, how money works in real estate. And I think back to, I've owned so many homes in my life. I can't ever recall a time where my parents, and my dad is deceased from us, but I don't ever remember a time where my parents, and my dad was more of the business savvy guy in that relationship, of just helping me just understand real estate, the power behind real estate, because they bought their first home in 1969. I was born in 1971, and I was long gone before they ever sold that house. But that one house in Southern California really set them up really nice.
So when I first got my license, 20 years ago, I call up my dad and I say, "Hey, look, you know, I'm in the industry now." And he's like, "Oh, fantastic." And I was like, "You know, you have a long running history of being a very savvy businessman." And he's, you know, worked for Seattle Chamber of Commerce and president of Valley National Bank, and had these really cool jobs, right? And so he's like, "Well, you don't want to talk to me about real estate, son." And I said, "Well, why is that?" He said, "Well, I kind of have this motto. I like to buy high and sell low."
Not what you want to do.
And I'm like, well,
at least he's honest.
Yeah. So it's just a running joke. But then, of course, now things are a little bit different now. He and I have had many wealth-building conversations, and he has multiple rental properties, and he's already, he's established a portfolio now that is not only generating passive income, but the stability in the market of the homes, in the areas of the homes that he bought are really strong, and he's only seen very few blips in all the years that he's owned property since we've been working together. But moral of the story, I was fortunate to have an uncle that I did learn a lot from. He's a broker out in Florida, and I actually got to spend some good amount of time with him picking his brain. And he just always had these good quips and quotes, and I wish I was a little bit older when I had that opportunity, because he gave me a lot of pearls, and I didn't really realize it, what was going on, right? So, I mean, just the whole element of being able to develop relationships, and the only way that those really work is if people like and trust you. Always leaving money on the table. You do good, you get good. And sometimes you just got to go to jail.
Well, if you know me, you know I am too pretty for prison.
That one's for you, Uncle Steve.
For me, Justin, it's I mean, there's a lot of lessons I'm going to be able to teach my kids about real estate. But a lot of it, unfortunately, goes back to looking at some of the regrets, some of the things that I wish my parents sat me down and explained to me. I got very, very lucky in 1997, 1998. I bought my very, very first house for $87,500 on a golf course. And then 12 months later, I had to move. So my natural thought process, and this is where so many people fall into this trap, my natural thought process, well, if I'm going to go buy my next home, I need to sell home number one. My dad didn't set me down and go, "Listen, son, This is about building a real estate portfolio. You don't necessarily have to sell. And looking back, I didn't have to sell. So then when I look back on my entire resume when it comes down to real estate, and I've added them up, I have 6 homes in the 20 some odd years that I've been buying real estate and investing in real estate that I sold in order to buy that next home, and I didn't necessarily have to sell. And had I held onto them, one of them would be almost paid off, but I would have another 6 homes, in my resume, and I just didn't know, and I didn't. My dad just didn't understand that process to sit me down and explain it to me.
My parents didn't explain anything to me. I know that they bought a house when I was 8 years old for $100,000.
I would like to see that conversation when your parents sat you down and tried to explain the birds and the bees.
Yeah, that never happened. That never happened, by the way. But
He's still wondering.
My grandfather, like we've talked about before, my grandfather was really into real estate, and I got to watch him and how he continued to grow properties in his portfolio. And I was always wondering, like, Grandma, why is he always at this house fixing it up? And he just flip homes all the time. But it got me thinking. And then when I got into mortgages, I started looking at interest rates and how that could impact your financial world. And I started talking to my dad about it. My dad's really into stocks. He's not really into real estate, and he's so set on his ways when it comes to stocks. But when we start talking about how a home grows, or how I get to leverage somebody else's money to grow the entire value of a home, I can see him thinking like, I never thought about it that way. But I feel like a lot of people don't think about it that way, you know? And there's nothing, my dad's done very well for himself. They've all done very well for themselves. They just do it in their own different way. But I feel like what I know now, I wish I could have taught them a long time ago, and things would be different.
Everyone's path is different. Right?
Everybody's path is different. But I love the fact that I got into this world, because everybody has to live under a roof.
And the one thing I do know, and this is probably the take home moment for our listeners, because we have a lot of listeners that have children, have kids, want to have these types of conversations with their kids, about how money works and about real estate. But this is the one thing that I do know, is it takes a considerable amount of wealth to get to retirement. Most people don't have a big, giant pension at the end of the road. And I know, Ryan, I don't know, maybe I can count on like a half a hand of how many truly wealthy people that we know that don't have real estate in their portfolio. So that tells me it's about real estate. To Justin's, point about, his dad and being involved in the stock market, that's what we always tell everybody. If I want to go out and buy $400,000 worth of stock today, typically I'm going to need $400,000 cash. But if I want to go out and buy a $400,000 home, depending on the loan program, I can get it for pennies on the dollar, and now I control a piece of property.
No doubt. And to kind of bring it back over to the topic, as far as what our takeaways or what our parents did bring to the table as far as real estate goes, I'm gonna focus on my mom a little bit. Single income household. By the time I was 6 months old or a year old, my parents had divorced, and so she had a home, and she worked her tail off, and we had no money, but we were raised rich. Right, and one of the big takeaways that I got that I was able to kind of relate to my business now is I was always, and still am at heart, that guy who wants to just go out there, jump into the pool head first, don't test the waters, let's just go out there and get things done. And it's always just like, Ryan, you don't need to hit home runs every single time you're up at bat, because when I was playing Little League, I was swinging out the park, right? And so I had Babe Ruth it. I was either hitting a home run or I was striking out, right? And it's all about singles and doubles. every now and then you're going to get a hold of one and you're going to rip it out of the ballpark and hit a grand slam. And that's wonderful. It feels great. Like you're like, oh man, this deal walked into my lap. But it doesn't happen unless you're up there hitting those singles and doubles. Why is that? Because if you're not jumping up at giving yourself any at-bats, no one's going to pitch to you, right? And so the reason that we're able to hit some of our home runs and some of our grand slams is because we're known as the guys that we're going to walk in the door and we're going to give you an offer on your property. We're going to see the value. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but we're going to walk in with options, right? So whether it's to buy your home, list your home, talk you into not selling your home, keeping it and helping develop your real estate portfolio, like all these different options that we're throwing out there, that's why we get more at-bats. And that's why we do, from time to time, hit those home runs. But at the end of the day, the real takeaway that I got from my mom on that was, Ryan, settle down, be okay with singles and doubles. You're going to win the game, right? Because, I mean, this game goes on for however long you decide to keep putting your money in the middle, right? So just understanding that if your expectation is, hey, I'm going to go buy a $100,000 property, I'm going to put $25,000 into it, and I'm going to sell it for $500,000, then your expectations aren't even going to get you to the plate. No one's going to pitch to you.
And I think that is, if we can pat ourselves on the shoulders a little bit here, and why I think people listen to this show and engage with us is because, we're talking about, the lessons that our parents never taught us when it comes down to real estate. We've talked about the lessons that we want to impart in our children when it comes down to real estate and building wealth. This is, Ryan, what we do. We are real estate wealth managers, and every single one of our clients, no matter where they're at in their real estate journey, our mission, our goal is to help them build a legacy of wealth in real estate.
I think you said it perfectly.
All right, so let's wrap up with this. Justin, what is the lesson that you want to impart on your children? So when you're long gone at age 47,
Oh, wow.
Damn.
You're putting that on me?
Damn.
You're putting that on me, Ricky Bobby?
I've already surpassed you, baby.
Wow.
And when your kids look back and talk about mom and dad and the lessons learned about money and learned about real estate, what is it that you want them to say?
Well, I want them to say that I was smart with my money. I want them to see that I work hard to make a plan and figure it out. I want them to because I've always been the type of person that jumps headfirst into a pool as well. But I want them to see that.
Dude, I literally the dude. I'm like little dipping my toe in.
We
I
know.
don't. Okay.
Yeah, we know.
Oh, it's too cold.
We know.
I don't want to commit myself till I know it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I want them to see that I do my due diligence and I know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna go after it aggressively once I figure it out and I make good decisions. But there is times where I've struck out in the past, but I've lived and I've learned, and I hope that I've gone through all those strikeouts at this point in my life because I've had a lot of experience and I've been in the game for a long time. So I hope that they see all the success that I do, and I hope they come to me for advice and see what I've done.
Ryan?
I hope it's a good question, man.
It is.
I hope that they see resiliency. I've been beat down. I've won and made and lost a lot of fortunes. And the reality is that if I were to lose everything tomorrow, that's perfectly fine by me. I know I'll just get right back up and
Been there, done that.
and figure it out because I do honestly feel like the sweetest fruit is out on a limb. And you're going to sometimes fall out of that tree from time to time and get some bumps and bruises. And people are going to laugh at you. People are going to talk shit about you. People are going to try to beat you down. That's kind of the human and American way is if somebody's up, you want to pull them down. I mean, when they're down, they want to stomp you down even more. It's sad going back to me being kind of a cynic on those things. But the reality is there is a lot of good people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've tried to cling on to those people as much as I possibly can and keep some really good people in my sphere, people that are going to help me grow, people that I can help grow, because it has to be reciprocal, right? No one wants to just be around people that are in it all for themselves. So I hope that my kids can see that I'm a resilient guy and that I persevere through adversal events.
And I think for me, thanks for asking.
Yeah, Mike.
Mike, tell us.
But I think it's for me is I want them to see that Dad did not listen to the noise. There's a lot of naysayers out there. There's a lot of critics out there. A lot of people that will talk you out of investing in yourself because they don't understand how money works. They don't understand the market, and that nobody's going to be there at the end of the line to hand you money, to hand you retirement. That you've got to make it yourself. You got to make your own future. Because I didn't come from a lot, and my parents didn't leave me a lot. I say it in past tense. Sorry, Mom, she's still around.
Yeah.
But it's everything that I leave behind for my kids, or everything that I'm able to retire on, is self-made, and that you have to take control and do it yourself. Nobody's gonna hand out. But anyways, we would love to help you. Would love to have a conversation with you about what we do as real estate wealth managers, about helping you build a legacy of wealth through real estate. All you got to do is text the word wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. That's wealth to 623-AZ-RECON.
Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate 401k Show. If you want more information on how to build wealth, click on the link or text us at 623-297-3266. That's 623-AZ-RECON.